Hello everybody, this is Tip Top Gaming here today with another Theros Beyond Death spoiler video. To start off this video, I'm going to be going over all the spoiled Planeswalker deck cards here today. So why don't we jump right into that. First we have the Ashiok deck, and we have Mindwrack Harpy. Sorry. It's a 4-cost enchantment creature Harpy, 3/2 with flying, and it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, each player puts the top 3 cards of their library into their graveyard. Okay, so for being a common and being in a Planeswalker deck, that's pretty decent. I don't think it's going to see any play in Standard, but it's interesting. Next we have Swimmer in Nightmares. Swimmer in Nightmares, yes, I guess that's how they're going to word that. It's a 3-cost 1/4, and it says it gets +3/+0 as long as there are 10 or more cards in a single graveyard. So if you guys don't remember, the Ashiok from the Planeswalker deck cares all about mill, which is pretty typical for Ashiok. So this works out. And then it says it can't be blocked as long as you control an Ashiok Planeswalker. So if there are 10 cards in your opponent's graveyard and you control Ashiok, you have a 4/4 unblockable. That's pretty crazy. Then you have Ashiok's Forerunner, which is a 5/5/3/3 with flash, and when it enters the battlefield, search for your library for Planeswalker deck Ashiok or graveyard. So you basically just get to pay 5 and get a chump blocker and Ashiok. So again, none of these cards are going to see any play in Standard, but they're interesting to look at. Then we have the Elspeth deck. This one cares a little bit about White Devotion, and it's just generic mono white. We have Sunlit Hoplite. It's a 2-cost creature, human soldier, and it says as long as it's your turn, it has first strike. So if it's your turn, it hits first. So this is already worth in a bunch of cards, but then it gets +1/+0 as long as you control an Elspeth Planeswalker. Still worse than cards in Standard. Again, this Planeswalker deck, I don't expect it to be good, but it's much worse than the Ashiok deck. Then we have Eidolon of Inspiration. It's a 3-cost enchantment creature spirit. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So, pretty meh. And then Elspeth's Devotee is a 4-cost 3/3, and when it enters the battlefield, get Elspeth, the bad one. Well, the Planeswalker deck one, I have to specify, because the new Elspeth isn't that great either. And put it into your hand from your graveyard or your library. Alrighty guys, why don't we jump right into the rest of the spoilers that were spoiled today. Hero of the Pride is a 2-cost 2/2 creature, cat soldier. So cat's in there, that's pretty interesting. And it says whenever you cast a spell that targets him, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Well, I don't see this being like a super big card in the meta. I could see this flipping its way into a Brawl Feather deck, as more cards that benefit from being targeted are needed. Then we have Heliod's Pilgrim. It's a 3-cost creature, human cleric, and when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an aura card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. If I'm not mistaken, this is the second search your library for an enchantment card in white that costs 3. Except this one's only limited to aura. However, I think as they're switching the Mythic Championship away from paper, they're a lot more likely to do search your library effects, which for something like Brawl, I really like. I think that if they're printed too much, decks get to be way too repetitive, and yeah. So they have to be careful with this. So if there's a really important aura in your deck, I believe you have a bunch of cards that you can search for. There are 2 printed in the set that cost 3, are white, and just search your library and you get it. There's a couple that allow your opponents to search for things. There's a couple, like if you go back to Historic, that just let you search your your library for any card. So there is a lot of craziness here. Oh, and don't forget those stupid wish granters. Those let you get things from your sideboard too. So basically, all of Standard is going to be search for exactly the right card at the exact right time and annoy your opponent. Next, we have Favored of Irois. It's a 3-cost creature, human soldier, and it says whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, it gets double strike. This is very inconsistent, would only be played in an enchantment deck, and is probably more for limited. Then we have Fascist Intervention. It's a X blue instant, and it says look at the top X cards of your library, put up to 2 of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Then it says counter target spell unless its controller pays twice X. Okay, so I have a couple problems with this card. First off, this is the second card that's like, look at the top cards of your library and put some on the top and some on the bottom. First off, just let us scry. It's Theros, scry. Second, counter target spell unless its controller pays twice X. Okay, I get that this is overpriced because it is a dual card. And so this is a counterspell or getting you a card, which can be very powerful. And I think this could see play in the right deck. However, I want you to think about it. For 3 mana, the same price as Cancel or Sinister Sabotage or any of those, you get counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. The end. Now, the benefit of being able to do that top ability is there. So I think that this card will definitely see play. The pricing isn't that great on the counterspell. Next, we have Nightmare Shepard. It's a 4-cost enchantment creature demon. Yay, living on his contract in Historic. It's a 4/4 flyer, and it says whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you may exile that creature. If you do, create a token copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1 and is a nightmare in addition to its other types. So basically what this says is, if you don't care about your graveyard, or even if you do, because this card is so powerful, when something dies, just make another one. And this isn't legendary, so let's say you played this, and then you played, I don't know, what's some really big annoying creature? Oh, Questing Beast! Okay, that's not that annoying. It's more about the power and toughness. What's a really annoying creature that is annoying based on the fact that it exists? Okay, Risen Reef. Let's say they have this Risen Reef and it keeps generating them value. Well, you know what? I'm going to murder it. Nope. They exile it instead. They get a 1/1, which is already what it was. It's a nightmare in addition, and it's just back. It basically says, hey, target Nightmare Shepard, and if you can duplicate him or create 2 of him, you have to basically kill them like 4 times, which is crazy. I think it's only 2, but this card is crazy, and I will probably build a deck with it in it, because wow, that's insane. I'm gonna see if there's a way to go infinite with this with Squee, which you can cast from exile. I just have to see if there's a good way to sacrifice creatures for mana. But we'll have to look into that. Next, we have Heroes of the Revel. This is a 5-cost, and when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red Satyr creature token with this creature can't block, which is the Satyr token for the set. And it says whenever you cast a spell that targets him, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. So I think this is definitely a contender for a Feather deck. I think it's a little overpriced for that archetype. So I don't think it's actually going to see any play, but it could in a brawl setting, again, where more targets to hit. But I think there's going to be enough creatures with this ability that this card isn't going to see any play. Next, we have Furious Rise. It's a 3-cost enchantment. It says at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until you exile another card. So basically, if it's an instant, you can cast it on your opponent's turn and until the beginning of your next end step, so a whole turn later. And yeah, this is basically that Colossal Magistry, but in red. And yeah, that's interesting. More and more card draw for red. They're trying to push it away from rushing and more for like value and, promoting things with power 4 or greater. That's really pushing away from what red does. So I don't think this card's going to see any play, at least in current red. So this is a 1-cost instant, and it says put an enchantment on the bottom of a library, of its owner's library. So basically, hey, you have that big 5/6 indestructible god, bottom of your library, because this avoids indestructible. Do I have to say more now? White, green, and black now have super easy ways to deal with the gods. Blue can bounce them and counterspell them, and red, well, too bad. I mean, I'm sure there's ways for red, but it's enchantments, and red's not very good with enchantments. Destiny Spinner is a 2-cost enchantment creature, human, and it says creatures and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. Well, okay, guess blue's not countering that last ability. Or the enchantment gods, if you're up against this. Then, pay 4, target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature. Oh, great, more land are becoming elementals. Creature with trample and haste until end of turn, where X is the number of enchantments you control. It's still a land. So, it's until end of turn. But, so basically you have a bunch of enchantments, boom, this land is now a 10/10 trample haste. So, that's kind of crazy. I don't know if it's going to see any play. Again, a lot of these cards depend on whether enchantments are in the meta, or Black Devotion's in the meta, which it will be, especially with that card we just talked about. Now we have a Loathsome Chimera. It's a creature Chimera, and it says escape 5, exile 3 other cards from your graveyard, and then it escapes with a +1/+1 counter. So a very generic escape card meant for limited. Okay, now we have probably the craziest card. Nyx Blumis Ancient is a 7-cost triple green, so this is going to help a lot with green devotion. It's an enchantment creature, so boom, it works in enchantment decks. It's an elemental, boom, it works in elemental decks. It's a green card, hey, it works in every deck, because you know, green's the bomb. And then it has trample, and if you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times that much mana instead. Now, okay, at 7 costs, this is very high. Like, it's in there with Kiora Best the Sea Gods in terms of price. But we're in green, a very rampy color. And right now, Simic Ramp is a very popular deck, or it was. And it can come back with a big bomb like this. Now, you might say, when you get to 7 mana, why do you need 21 mana? Well, don't you see? 21 mana is a lot higher than 7, and you're not going to use that mana to cast spells. I mean, this is going to be really big for things like Commander and definitely Brawl, but I think for a more fun environment, this could also be really cool, although I see a lot of people being like, this isn't that powerful. But tripling your mana. Think about it like this. I know, oh, 7 costs, oh, that's a lot, but first off, there are temporary mana solutions, so like treasure tokens. So you could get that treasure token, and then, sure, you had 7 mana this turn, but now you have 4, but actually now you have 12. So I see this going in a lot of decks. I think it will definitely fit into Brawl and Commander. I don't know exactly how well this is going to do in Standard. And it's Mythic. Shadow Spear, this is also crazy. It's a 1-cost legendary artifact equipment. When an equipment is legendary, you better watch out. It says equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample and lifelink. So trample, lifelink, and +1/+1. So +1/+1, any deck. Trample, may I say feather, or really anything that does damage. Lifelink, get life gain decks. Pay 1, permanent your opponent's control, lose hexproof and indestructible. Kiora Best the Sea Gods, all of the gods. A bunch of different cards, now just lose everything, and I think we needed this in Standard, and equipped too. And may I mention, that thing doesn't need to be equipped to remove indestructible and hexproof. This is a sideboard card. It's kind of weird, but it's definitely a sideboard card. Next we have Bronzehide Lion. It's a 2-cost creature cat, and you can pay 2 and it gains indestructible until end of turn, and when it dies, return it to the battlefield. It's an aura enchantment, so it becomes an enchantment kind of similar to Bestow, and it gives the creature it's equipped to pay 2, it gains indestructible until end of turn, and the creature loses all abilities. So if you were to put this on a god, it loses all of its abilities, but then has the ability to turn indestructible, even though it's already indestructible. It was just an example. And that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been a crazy ride. I believe tomorrow is the very last day of spoilers, and there's a chance that the state of the game comes out tomorrow. Either way, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!